Hey everyone, I wanted to go off course a little bit today and bring you down here for a quick presentation on something that just fascinates me. Now, to be right up front, this presentation is for the soil nerds like myself. You know, we talk a lot in agriculture about healthy soil and nutrient uptake, but today we're going way beyond these buzzwords. We're going deep into the micro world works of the rhizosphere to look at a process that comes right out of science fiction. We're talking about chemical signaling, intracellular farming, and how plants actually consume live microbes to survive. If you ever wanted to know the exact biological reason why your plants thrive, or if you just want to dive into some cutting edge botanical science, you're in the right place. Let's fire up the slides and let's take a look at the secret life of roots. You know, for decades, the traditional view of plant nutrition has been entirely passive. We were taught that a plant root acts like a simple sponge, just sitting there soaking up dissolved minerals from the soil and water. But modern forensic soil biology has revealed a completely different story. Enter rhizophagy. The word literally means root eating. Discovered and detailed by brilliant researchers like Dr. James White at Rutgers, rhizophagy is an active, elegant, four-step cycle where plants literally hunt, capture, and strip bacteria of their nutrients before releasing them back into the wild. It is a continuous loop of biological farming that happens millions of times a second right under our boots, completely bypassing the physical barriers of the soil. Let's look at the exact mechanism of how this happens, because the chemistry here is absolutely wild. It all starts at the root tip in the meristem zone. The plant rings a dinner bell by secreting carbon-rich root oxidate, sugars and amino acids. This attracts specific nutrient-dense bacteria right to the root gate. But instead, instead of just feeding them outside, the plant actually coaxes these live bacteria inside its own root cells. And then once the bacteria are internalized, the plant root cell hits them with an oxidative bombardment using superoxide. Think of this like a microscopic biological blowtorch. This reactive oxygen strips away the bacterial cell walls. It doesn't kill the microbe entirely, but it dissolves that outer armor. With the cell wall gone, the plant cell is able to harvest the prize. It directly absorbs nitrogen, zinc, boron, straight out of the microbe's body. It is the ultimate form of precision nutrition. Now, if the story ended there, the plant would eventually run out of microbes, but nature is infinitely smarter than that. This is a sustainable farming system. The plant doesn't destroy the internalized bacteria completely. Instead, it triggers the surviving stripped microbes to multiply and clone themselves inside the root. Come on. As the young root hairs grow and elongate, the plant pushes these clone bacteria down to the very tips of the root hairs and literally ejects them or spits them back out into the soil. This is the great escape. Once they are back out in the wild soil matrix, these bacteria regrow their cell walls and they go right back to work. They travel out into the soil aggregates, mine for fresh phosphorus, zinc, potassium, and prepare to start the entire rhizophagy cycle all over again. The plant isn't just a consumer, it's an active breeder and a manager of its own micro livestock. So let's bring this back to a practical management. Why does this deep science matter to you on your ranch or your farm or your garden or your sports field? It comes down to nutrient use efficiency. When a plant is powered by rhizophagy, its nutrient efficiency is close to 90%. Why? Because the nutrient transfer happens inside the plant tissue. There is zero leaching into groundwater, zero volatilization into the air. It is total precision delivery. Compare that to synthetic high salt fertilizers. When we flood the soil with synthetic nitrogen, our nutrient use efficiency drops to around 40% or worse, and I'll say worse right now. But it gets uglier. When you give a plant free synthetic food, it falls into the lazy plant trap. It immediately shuts down its root exudates because it thinks it doesn't need to trade anymore. When the exudates stop, the rhizophagy cycle shuts down. The fungal highways collapse. You have short-circuited the biological engine, leaving your crops completely dependent on the next expensive chemical application just to survive. Isn't that just crazy? We spent the last few minutes looking at the incredible complexity of this underground world, the chemical triggers, the cellular defenses, and this beautiful cyclical dance of rhizophagy. To some, this is just a series of random biological coincidences. But for me, when I look through the microscope and I see these intricate systems working in flawless harmony, I don't just see biology, I see design. And I said this last time, there is a profound humility in realizing that while we can plant the seeds, test the soil, and manage the acreage, the actual breath of life, the tiny microbial engines that turn dust into food, is a gift that we didn't create. And as a soil nerd, I am endlessly fascinated by the how. But as a person of faith, I am deeply humbled by the who. When we restore the biology in our fields and stop interrupting these natural pathways, we're not just fixing soil, we are actively honoring a system that was designed to flourish from the very beginning. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the rhizosphere. Let's keep working together to honor the design of soil. Go to bydesignsoil.com to learn how we can help you steer your biological system, and I will see you in the next video.